There are a few companies still who don't have
Right.
anything.
Do you think that what happened in Memphis speeded up settlement of some of the other strikes in the other places, sanitation strikes, St. Petersburg?
Well, St. Petersburg didn't really.
Yeah, didn't exactly speed up Atlanta.
Um,
Do you think they looked at Memphis and said, "Well, it's not
I think
that
so.
kind of a
I think
think so.
Atlanta. In fact, I was in Atlanta right when that thing broke, and of course, what was interesting to me was to see the whole attitude of the police and coming down and the marchers. When the trucks went out, the police were there in regular uniforms with no clubs, nothing, nothing. And the whole approach to it was so different.
You know, I would say, in a general sense, that it did affect the attitudes
Yeah.
considerably.
Well, what happened in Memphis was significant in many ways, and this is.
I think, as far as the labor movement is concerned, it was probably the greatest event, in spite of the tragedy, that has occurred within the labor movement, because it focused all the things that the labor movement ought to be and is.
Now, can you enumerate those just for the uneducated?
For instance, you had the civil rights aspects of the strike. You had the human rights aspect. You had the economic goals. You had the very basic question of equality in the relationship with the employer.
And you were at, as you said before, if I may, you were at a lower level.
Right, and the fact that there was that unlike in the private sector, the employees didn't know whether they were going to get any benefits or not. They would simply put life and limb on the line, so to speak. I think they would have been out there just as long if they had not got any assistance at all, because they didn't. You know, they were just one step above poverty to start with.
Of course, workers who work a full time and come home and have to get food stamps.
Yeah, these types of things. And aside from the fact that in the South, with with the attitudes, not only of the general Southerner, but Southern labor, when they could relate to this type of a struggle, with all the factors involved, and when you get Southern white labor people who can walk side by side with NAACP people, SNCC people, CORE people, and not be ashamed of it or worry about it, but say that that I relate to this segment of the fight or the total fight or whatever part they decide and whatever reason they decide for being there, it represents maybe a change or a step toward change.
Yeah. But you're not saying, of course, that was total.
Oh no, not at all.
At least it was somewhat token, or it was a step.
Not at all, but it was a step. For instance, we had people telling us that I'll help you all I can, but if the NAACP becomes involved, you can forget about me. Well, now we could have just left it at that, because maybe the person represented 50 people or 100 people.
What kind of people? Those are labor people?
Labor people, and community people for that matter. But we said to them, we tried to explain the nature of the thing, and how their support was valuable for this reason, how other support was valuable for this reason, and that you can't get upset when you tell the truth. If they know the attitude of the mayor and the philosophy of the mayor, then it shouldn't bother them when someone speaks out about it. If they happen to share the same philosophy, they happen to share it. But if they can understand what the struggle is all about, then they will take their proper role.
What happened with the white unions? I mean, really?
Well, they, as a matter of fact, they marched in support themselves twice. They marched with once, and many of them joined the last march. Many of them opened their membership up to for us to speak. Not saying what the attitudes of the full membership was, but they gave great opportunity. Many of them contributed money.
In other words, there was an improvement.
Oh, a definite improvement.
Yeah. And the fact that they copped out in a lot of places was to be expected.
Except from the building trades. We got absolutely nothing from the building trades here.
Yeah.
Not even the time of day.
Mhm.
But
Well, that's not their province. They don't build clocks.
Yeah, the typographical union,
Mm-hmm.
the rubber workers,
Yeah, the Firestone.
International Harvester,
Mm-hmm.
newspaper guild to a degree.
Well, they turned the strike down, though.
While the executive board approved
Mhm.
strike support, and then the
Members.
membership turned it down. But then you have to take a look at the vote and take a look at the dynamics that went into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bill Ross told us about that.
So there was quite a change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And aside from the fact that they had a vested interest also, because for the first time you had a much bigger mobilization around a labor cause, regardless of how it took form afterwards.